Let's address the question now of why the Prime Minister chose to send his Minister for the Pacific to the Solomon Islands and not the higher-profile Foreign Minister after the government there signed off on a controversial security pact with China. Labor has accused the government of the worst foreign policy failure since World War II. Political editor Andrew Clennell has the story. He joined me from the campaign trail a short time ago.
Yes, well, I received some information she was at a fundraiser whilst Zed Seselja, the junior minister, was travelling to the Solomon Islands. In the last few minutes, Tom, I've heard it was a business dinner at PwC. No funds were raised. The defence from the government was that she was also meeting Lindsey, Graham and Bob Menendez that day, so she had some foreign policy duties, not just campaign duties, which she was undertaking, including meeting various ethnic groups. But it still really raises questions. Have we taken this seriously enough? Has the government fumbled this? Scott Morrison, a really spirited defence in his press conference here in Adelaide this morning on this, and saying that if he sent Marise Payne, that'd be the equivalent of having someone stomping around, he said, because it's a more senior minister. It was better diplomatically to send the junior minister. Well, you can see the result of that, I guess, in terms of the fact the China agreement has happened. But let's hear me question the Prime Minister on this and his response. On the very day that Zed Seselja was travelling to the Solomon Islands, Marise Payne was hosting a private fundraiser at PwC Barangaroo. Is that really the best use of the Foreign Minister at that time, as opposed to going to the Solomons?
The right response was to ensure that the Minister for the Pacific, we were very aware of where that agreement was up to, as were all other Pacific leaders. It was very important that we communicated very clearly to the Prime Minister of the Solomon Islands, Manasseh Sogavare, what the Australian government's position was. And to do that at that level made very clear that Australia was not looking to go and stamp around, that we were going to deal constructively and respectfully.
So that is around that Seselja doesn't. I mean, how does that even work?
Well, the Foreign Minister is a different level to the Minister for Pacific. One is in Cabinet, one is not. You calibrate your diplomacy to deal with sensitive issues. Do you think there's not the same pressure going on in Papua New Guinea that there is in the Solomon Islands? Of course there is. Do you think the same pressure is being placed on Fiji or Samoa or any of these countries, or Tonga? That's happening in all of those countries. I mean, when Anthony Albanese was asked about this, he thought this issue was about, he said, it was only three things: climate change, and climate change. That's a nonsense. China has the biggest emissions and growing emissions in the world.